Yeah, I know. I'm starting 30 seconds early. All right, here we go. And we're live. Hey, guys. Welcome to Live at 6:45. Now, if any of you saw the event notice, you'll notice we're doing security yet again, but we're doing a different aspect of security. And I am here outside of Vanier College in Montreal. Well, Montreal for those of you outside of Montreal, for those of you in Montreal, Ville Saint Laurent. And we're just going to have some fun with this. I'm just taking a couple of, I'll be honest, I'm stalling for a couple of minutes until you guys show up. First one on, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, mateys. All right, so welcome to yet another, this is day 23, and we're going to be talking security, and I loved, you know what, I'm actually starting to have a lot more, like, I'm having fun doing these lives, and I hope you guys are enjoying them too. We're really just, this is all for, this is for info and for entertainment, so I really want to make sure that you guys are enjoying. I'm always welcome to comments, feedback, and questions in the comments and by email, because I post my email at the bottom of the video at the end of the show. So, guys, hit me up if you have any questions or anything like that. And let's jump into security. So, someone needs to have their muffler fixed. All right. For those of you who were here yesterday, you'll remember cookies. So that was apparently quite memorable. And so I hope you guys will remember that you've got your cache, you've got your history, and your cookies. Today we're going to be talking a little more still on the internet. And one of the points that I have to start with, no matter where you are, if you're on the internet, there is a provider somewhere. Now, if you're on some form of public Wi-Fi, like if you're at McDonald's or Tim Hortons or any of these, or whoever offers free internet, right? The malls offer it. We'll refer to this collectively as public Wi-Fi. So if you happen to be on public Wi-Fi, they happen to be your provider. Now, they have to go to an internet service provider just like you do, whether you're on in the States, if you're on Xfinity or if you're on any of those, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but Videotron or Shaw or whoever you happen to use to provide your internet, they are the root provider, and then they provide Tim Hortons or whatever the public Wi-Fi is, but you have to go through their servers. So when you have to go on and authenticate and say, yes, I want to use this public Wi-Fi, I accept your terms and conditions. This is a great thing to know. What happens when you accept those terms and conditions is you are saying that, yes, I agree that I'm not going to use this for illegal purposes. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do anything untoward, and I'm going to be respectful of the bandwidth. I'm not going to, start downloading massive amounts of movies and stuff like that. And they're going to limit your they're going to limit the amount of speed you can get anyway. Just so you know. So there is that. Now, Deb and I are having a conversation. I talk a lot with Pete and Deb, obviously, and we're having a conversation about this. And she asked, "Well, is public Wi-Fi safe?" And I said, "This is a great question. Yes, public Wi-Fi is safe, but kind of like in public, when you're going to go and use public Wi-Fi and browse in public Wi-Fi, you don't want to do anything that you wouldn't do in public, right? Like you don't run around in public yelling out the contents of your bank account or your, how much money you do or do not have, or things like that. So what you want to keep in mind is if you're on public Wi-Fi, go ahead, check Facebook, and your Facebook's public anyway, or maybe it isn't. But generally, Facebook is pretty public. Most of this stuff, you're fine. But if it's something that you wouldn't talk about in public, best not to do it, because there is something called a man-in-the-middle attack. Now, how this works. The Wi-Fi is provided, so the Wi-Fi is around, and what happens is some unscrupulous characters may choose to put a small box or device under the table or what have you, and what that does is it takes what's here, and then it makes it makes its own Wi-Fi network that mimics the big one. And when you connect to that middle box allows somebody to see everything that's going on. It's not easy to read, but there is software to do it. Now, if you're browsing regularly, regular sites and whatnot, and you're sending stuff and like posting stuff and whatnot, they can see what pages you go to and generally what you do. But again, if this is something that you would tell to a complete stranger, so what? Where it gets tricky is when you start dealing with confidential information or very sensitive emails or things like that. So this is where you want to avoid this man-in-the-middle attack, and there is an easy way to get around it. However, I should also mention that there is a way around it. If you look at the address for most of the sites you visit, you'll notice that most web addresses start with HTTP. Now, if you really want to know if it's going to stop you from sleeping, it stands for hypertext transfer protocol, right? But HTTP is the standard way of transmitting information on the internet or web pages. It is the standard platform or standard protocol. The word they use is protocol, just like a medical protocol. It's a protocol. But if you see, and I mentioned this yesterday, HTTPS, it means that there is an added layer of security. It means that this site and your connection on it is secured. And what does that mean? Encryption. Okay. Fancy insider word, right? Oh God, he's got another term for us. Add this to the glossary. You're going to hear it a lot over the course of your. I'm sure the more you delve into tech, the more you're going to hear it. Encryption. I'm gonna date myself here. Do you guys remember Cracker Jacks? Do you guys remember the prize in the Cracker Jacks? Do you guys remember at some point when you were a kid, you get a cereal box or whatever, and they had a decoder ring or some kind of, or they'd give you like the Morse code little part that you can cut out the Morse code, or you cut out like this letter equals that letter, and they give you a message that you had to decode. That's encryption. Honestly, doesn't get more complicated than that. Now, computers do it, of course. Ridiculous. Did I mention ridiculous? Ridiculous with a side order of ridiculous with ridiculous sauce. Computers really go to town on this. But that's how they keep your information secure. They encrypt it. So, oh, and Deb is asking, so you shouldn't transfer private info unless it has the same. I'm going to ask you to clarify what you mean by the same. But yes, HTTPS means that that site is using an extra layer of security, and anything you do on that site, as far as anybody, if anybody was listening, it's like you're talking in gobbledygook to anybody except, it's like you're talking gobbledygook to anybody except the person you're talking to. It's almost as though you can speak your own complete language. And not anybody else can get that language unless they are part of that conversation. So that's always good to know. So yeah, it really is like the decoder rings or the legends like that. It's not crazy like that. A lot of sites use HTTPS or use secure web, and especially any site where you're dealing with payment like PayPal, secured. Banking, secured. No question, secured. Just a note. If you happen to be using, whether it's public Wi-Fi, private Wi-Fi, I don't care if it's your house or whatever, if you're going to do banking on your devices, and I highly recommend doing it, it's very, very convenient, use the bank's app. Now, Richard, why do I have to download another app? You download the other app for one simple reason, because it's even more secure. They use like the extra deluxe encoder ring, like the Rosetta Stone of encoder rings, and it's really, really secure. Like You hear Legends of Fort Knox? Nothing compared to the type of encryption that these apps, and these apps encode from the app. So really, really everything that goes out in that, every communication that goes out in that app is absolute hogwash, gobbledygook, means nothing except to you and the bank server. And yesterday I mentioned sessions, right? Remember when I mentioned the waitress takes your session ID and all this, and your table number and all that? For that session and that session only, you have a unique language and nobody understands it except you and the bank. So there is always that. So the banking apps are a really, really good idea. There are other services and things that are secure. So it's really handy. Like there's one cloud service that I use. It's very little known. It is a really, really great service, and it's run out of New Zealand. It's called mega.co.nz for New Zealand, or you can download the app. They give 50 gigs right off, but more than anything, everything is encrypted end to end. No exceptions. Fantastic service. Very fast, especially considering the distance. So really, really good. But what happens when we need to go that extra step? Got the answer for you. We've got something called VPN. Oh, here he comes with another acronym. The computer world is full of them, by the way. They're like you alphabet soup, right? You hear them everywhere. If you have any that you want decoded, bring it. We'll have some fun. So VPN, virtual private network. You don't have the money, the means, or the technology, or the resources to have your own direct internet backbone connection. That's okay. There are companies that do. Bell, Videotron, Shaw. The providers are the only ones who have that kind of way backbone entrance or way backbone connection. So VPN, virtual private network, basically says what we're going to do is we're going to offer you a service. It is a service. There's usually an app associated to it, but you don't necessarily need the app. Any good VPN, the app is only there, or the program is only there to try and simplify your life. But every computer, phone, tablet, even a Nintendo Switch can use a VPN. Built in, it's part of the networking protocol. Okay. If you put in the right credentials for your VPN, and it is a service, so some are free and there are drawbacks. I'll get to that in a sec. But what the VPN does is it's kind of like if you're driving a car. You don't want to be followed. All right. They're not following you in a car, though. They're following you in a helicopter. So they're doing the police thing, right? The high-speed chase. You see or the news camera. They're following the car. What do? You go into a tunnel. Well, that's what a VPN does. It tunnels the traffic. So everything goes into one stream. If anyone tries to look at the stream, all they see is gobbledygook. They just see flashes of car, because the only one who knows where the traffic is going is you, right? And then it comes out the other end. Now, as far as any website or any service is concerned, your internet comes from where the tunnel ends, which means that you can, and it's encrypted, by the way. So all of this is encrypted, and your traffic comes out the end of the tunnel. So if the tunnel ends in Norway, as far as any website that you visit, as far as any service you use, as far as anyone is concerned, you're in Norway. No kidding. So in that way, this is how you can completely cover your track. If you're on public Wi-Fi, by the way, this works too. You use your VPN. What are the drawbacks? I mean, it sounds great. Well, here's the trick. A lot of VPN providers especially the free ones, put limits on the speed. They don't want any crashes in the tunnel, right? And they put a limit on how much you can transfer. So they put a limit on on how long you can drive in the tunnel, right? Although they do it by data. So you can go through X amount per month. So you have a limitation. Also, traffic in the tunnel. There's more traffic in the tunnel because you're not the only user. So there's more cars in the tunnel. They don't have as many lanes as the open road. You don't have as many route options because you have to go through this tunnel. So the traffic tends to run a little slower. Not so slow that you're going to notice it. And I'm going to really date myself here. It's not dial-up. Way not dial-up. Don't worry. You're not going to slow to a crawl. But you will have a little bit slower internet speed. And that is something that you may or may not notice. And especially if you're streaming big things like films or movies, if you're streaming big media or things like that, you're going to notice. It's not going to be as snappy as it is on the open road. But this is how a lot of people and sometimes still do, trick services like Netflix, Hulu, and whatnot. I met a gentleman at one point during my career who had a brilliant VPN service. I have one as well, and a very good service. And what he would do is he traveled around a lot, but every once in a while he followed German shows. He watched a couple of German shows. He watched a couple of shows from England. And so he walked around with his Netflix account, but he would go, "Hey, I really, I want to watch the latest issue or episode of my German show." So he would use his VPN to come out in Germany, and he would watch German Netflix, and then he would go, "Hey, the next night it's British Netflix, and then it's US Netflix." So it is kind of a neat little workaround. So there is that. Anything else oh, yes. Okay. So those are the drawbacks. It is wonderfully encrypted. It is a great tunnel, and it is a great option for securing your internet. I don't want to run too long. So what I'm going to do, I was hoping to get the dark web into this, but you know what? I'm going to save that as its own segment. I'll do that tomorrow. So let me pop up the email, and I'm going to wish you guys a fantastic night. I hope you guys have an amazing evening. If you're seeing this later, I love questions and comments. Please let me know. Click like and subscribe and all of that if you want. More importantly than anything else, if you find this useful, if you say, "Hey, I know somebody who could find," please share it with them. These are going to be up there. They're not going anywhere. And if you guys need any help in understanding a little more about this, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer questions. Love this. Love doing this. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, you lovely, lovely people. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 6:45 for Not Technically Perfect.